Hey everyone, Shadowwraith back again, this time with a fantastic Arc Warlock build that'll be great for high level activities, especially when you're going in under level. It can cover all three champion types and all three shield types. And even this Minotaur in the background seems very excited about it. Fortunately, I'm out of range, but he is not. So we're going to jump into a legendary Lost Sector. We're going to be running at 10 under level, so we're at 1290 here. We've got a Osmosis hand cannon, so when we throw a grenade, it changes into an arc weapon, and then grenade kills will spawn elemental wells. When we pick up those elemental wells, we'll get ability energy, and it'll max out our intellect for about 30 seconds. And then we will be running a overload arc grenade to deal with overload champions. And then we have falling guillotine, which will spawn orbs as we get multi-kills. Picking up those orbs will start health regen. And then we have a 7 Seraph officer revolver to spawn warmind cells, and those warmind cells will clear out entire rooms. Then we also have disrupting blade, so our falling guillotine can overload champions too. You can see it makes pretty quick work of them. And then we're also going to be running Eriana's Vow to deal with anti-barrier champions. So all of this goes really well together. You can cover, as I mentioned, all three shield types. You can cover all three champion types because we're running Unstoppable on our hand cannon. And then lastly, we're running a super with Geomag stabilizers that will absolutely destroy bosses in seconds. So if that looks interesting to you, great. We will jump into the build, starting with the subclass. We're going to be using Stormcaller Middle Tree Attunement of Control for Chaos Reach, which fires a long-range channeled beam of concentrated arc energy. Hitting your super button again will deactivate it to save you energy. Then Ball Lightning is our melee. It's a long-range attack. It's great. Ionic Trace. Defeating enemies has a chance to create Ionic Traces, which will grant ability energy. And then Pulse Wave. When you're critically wounded, you get faster. I'm using Pulse Grenade here. You can use whichever grenade you want. I like Healing Rift way more than Empowering Rift in this case, so I recommend using Healing Rift. And then whichever jump you want is fine. I like Strafe Glide because it gives me more control in the air. As far as weapons, I'll be going through some of the alternatives later, but 7 Seraph Officer Revolver is what we're running here for the Warmind cells, and then it also has the perk Osmosis, so using the grenade turns this into an arc weapon, which is great, so we can cover all three shield types. Then Ambitious Assassin, reloading after getting multiple kills, overflows the magazine. We've got Drop Mag for faster reloads. The other perks don't make a huge difference, but you really want Osmosis here. Alternatively, if you don't have the Officer Revolver, Dire Promise will also roll with Osmosis. Then we've got Eriana's Vow for anti-barrier. This weapon fires anti-barrier rounds. It's fantastic. And then once you get the catalyst will give you increased mag size. It goes from 6 to 9 shots and auto-loading holster. And then you get extra damage on the first shot, and you keep that extra damage if you keep hitting crits. Lastly, we're running Falling Guillotine for our heavy, and this has Whirlwind Blade for the extra damage on light strikes, and then Relentless Strikes for the extra ammo on light strikes, then Swordmaster's Guard for the increased charge rate, and Jagged Edge for the extra damage. And then we've also got a boss spec on here. High DPS, great weapon. Now, I know a lot of people are running the anti-barrier sniper rifles this season instead of Eriana's Vow. That's also great. I love anti-barrier snipers. If you're doing that, I'd recommend Succession or something like Long Shadow in your kinetic slot. And then in your energy slot, you could run something like Ikelos SMG or Ikelos Hand Cannon for Warmind cells, or you could just use a bow or like one of the new pulse rifles with Unstoppable. So lots of alternatives there. And then for heavy, you've got all the standard ones. You've got Lament, Xenophage, Anarchy. Anarchy is really great if you've got it for pretty much any content that's high level. So highly recommend. As far as our artifact goes, we're going to be running Passive Guard, which will reduce incoming damage of nearby combatants when we're wielding a sword. It's great for staying alive when you're just sorting through stuff. If you want max super DPS, you could run Volatile Conduction, where casting your super when you're critically wounded gives you increased damage. But this is really dangerous to use when you're underpowered in a high level activity because you could just get killed out of your super. So run it if you want, but dangerous. And then Anti-Barrier Sniper Rifle, Disruption Blade, and then I have Surge Detonators so that I can overload from farther away and then close the distance and use Disruption Blade. And then I'm running Unstoppable Hand Cannon, but if you're switching around weapons, you could do Unstoppable Pulse Rifle as well. All right, now jumping over to the armor slot. On our helmet, we're going to be running Taking charge, become charged with light by picking up orbs of power. This is great because we have all masterworked weapons, so we get a lot of orbs of power on multi-kills. You could also use something like Charge Harvester if you don't have masterworked weapons. Then we have Sword Ammo Finder to get more ammo, Dynamo to get more super energy, and then we've got Minor Discipline Mod so that our grenade recharges faster. On our arms, we're running Global Reach for Warmind cells. As I mentioned, we also have Disruption Blade, and you could swap this for Anti-Barrier Sniper Rifle if you're switching weapons, Unstoppable Hand Cannon, Unstoppable Pulse Rifle, and then Discipline Mod again for the grenade recharge. On our chest piece, we're going to be running Font of Wisdom. Picking up an Elemental Well grants energy to whichever ability is lowest, and picking up that Elemental Well that matches a subclass will grant increased intellect for 30 seconds. This is a great mod. Then Sniper Damage Resistance and Concussive Dampener. Highly recommend these two. You can swap them for other damage resistance mods, but they're great. And then Discipline Mod again for grenade recharge. Then our exotic Geomag Stabilizers. When Chaos Reach super energy is almost full, basically at 80%, you can sprint to get the last 20% really quickly. And then damaging enemies with Chaos Reach extends its duration. This is huge. Then Elemental Ordnance, defeating combatants with a grenade spawns an Elemental Well that matches the subclass, which then you pick up to get the intellect. And then Better Already, your health begins to regenerate immediately when picking up an Orb of Power. And then Sword Scavenger and Recovery Mod. If you do not have Geomag Stabilizers, a good alternative would be this season's new chest piece exotic Mantle of Battle Harmony, where you'll get super energy or extra damage when you get kills with a weapon that matches your subclass type. You could also use something like Necrotic Grip or Eye of Another World, or even something like Sanguine Alchemy. So there are options there. And then lastly, on our bond, we have Protective Light. While charged with light, you gain significant damage reduction against combatants when your shields are broken. This is huge, great for survivability. I run it on pretty much everything. And then we've got Passive Guard, again, for the survivability with swords, and Surge Detonators, like I mentioned. As always, we went through a lot of information in a short amount of time, so let's jump into a Lost Sector and do a quick recap. When getting grenade kills, it will spawn a Elemental Well. Picking up that well will give you ability energy, and it will also max out your intellect for about 30 seconds. Then we've got a long-range melee attack. We've got a primary that will spawn Warmind cells, and then those Warmind cells will completely clear out an entire room. We've got all three energy types to deal with shields. We've got all three champion types to deal with champions, and we've got high DPS swords to deal with majors. And then watch our super here. We've got Geomag Stabilizers, where we can recharge the last 20% of our super almost instantly by dashing, which will then shred everything. If you enjoy the content or would like to help support the channel, would really appreciate the like and the subscribe. Thanks for watching, and catch you all next time.